Hello everyone, my name is Andreas and I am a PhD student on the University of Cambridge and the Alan Turing Institute. I'm here to present our latest work, which is named Dissecting the Workload of a Major Adult Video Portal. This is a joint work with my collaborators Aravindh, Timm, Zafar and Gareth. Moreover, given the circumstances, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers for hosting this virtual conference and doing their best, given what's going on. Without further ado, let's dive in. Streaming content these days is extremely popular, with the advent of streaming services, like for example YouTube, Netflix, and others thriving in popularity. There is no denying that in recent years, there has been an explosion in terms of consumption of video content in the form of a streaming service, both in terms of its actual user raw capacity, as well as the bandwidth requirements, with higher bitrate video files being the norm. Video content in general, in terms of its distribution, is a very well-studied topic over the years, with lots of research done on how the particular traffic workload looks, behaves, and the constraint it imposes. However, there's another interesting, funnier, and a little darker side, that of the adult video content streaming. Like in regular video streaming services, there has also been an explosion in the usage of these services, but until recently there has been very little research on how these users behave in these platforms when using them. Further, due to the paucity of data, there is a particular lack of understanding related to the unique workload that such websites place on the infrastructure of a content distribution network, which are normally tailored to serve well-studied content patterns such as the ones in regular video content services. Through this work, we aim to give a glimpse of how the traffic might look like. In this paper, we are primarily focused to present a large-scale analysis of the user access patterns observed in a major adult website. In particular, we are interested in understanding of how individual view decisions with Dublin journeys impact the workload of the CDN. To do this, we gathered granular data from a popular CDN that resulted in a large dataset that can be summarized the following key points. The dataset consisted of 1 hour of access logs for resources hosted and served by the site, had over 62,000 individual users, and over 20 million access records. Finally, the total amount of data exchanged over that 1 hour of recording was over 3 terabytes. However, even as rich as this data is, alone it is insufficient to provide insight into content request patterns. This is because modern adult website consists of meta-interactions, including categories and ranking of content. Thus, to get a complete picture, we gather the required metadata about each individual access by scraping the web content itself. Since the actual content is publicly available, then, given the unique video IDs contained in the CDN traffic logs, we were able to retrieve the complete metadata for most of the videos contained in our CDN dataset. The retrieved metadata for each video was the following: its associated categories and any hashtags, their view counters, and their like and dislike ratio. All in all, we were able to gather metadata for over 5 million videos that covered over 91% of the total requests we saw in our CDN logs. Possible reasons for the missing metadata would be removal of the video source for legal or other reasons. We start our efforts by performing a basic characterization of the corpus served, as well as the overall site workloads observed at the CDN level. More concretely, we characterize the following types: the resource type, the video duration, the view counts, and the category affinity. We'll cover all of them in the coming slides. We start with the characterization of the resource type. Normally, websites consist of a wide range of media types. To inspect this, in the case of adult video portals, we initially look at the mix of content types encountered within the actual CDN logs. The figure shown shows the fraction of requests to each resource type. This shows the distributions for both the number of requests as well as the number of bytes sent by the CDN service. As we can see, the vast majority of requests are received for image content, primarily JPG, whereas the majority of bytes are attributed to the delivery of video content, ending in MP4. In total, over 60% of bytes transferred are attributable to video content, yet they constitute less than 20% of the requests. Closer inspection confirms, perhaps surprisingly, that the dominance of images is driven by thumbnails, which makes the video model image-heavy. Our conjecture is that these may be used heavily during browsing, and seems it might be due to the primary visual nature of the content and its sometimes selective nature. The previous figure suggests that actually the majority of accesses are actually driven by non-video material. However, due to its voluminous nature, the quantity of bytes transferred is dominated by actual video content, thankfully. Next, we're inspecting duration of the video content available. This is data taken from a web scrape information that, as said previously, includes the video duration. The figure shows the duration of videos on the website as reported by the metadata, labeled all in the figure legends. We can see that more than 80% of the videos fall below 16 minutes and have a mean duration of about 920 seconds. We also see that the duration of the 5 most popular categories, but unfortunately, due to ethical and legal reasons, we have to anonymize all categories. Further, we can see that the shortest videos fall into the C3 category, with a mean duration of about 650 seconds. Of note is that this particular category focuses on material primarily on more homemade nature. In contrast, the C1 category, which contains more professional materials, has a longer mean duration of about 1080 seconds. Though that being said, these categories show strong similarities in their distribution and show a bias towards shorter content items. Next, we seek to explore the popularity distribution of the resources within our logs. In other words, the view counts. The left figure presents the CDF of the number of requests we observe per object taken from our CDN logs. We can see a clear skew where the majority of accesses are accumulated by a small number of videos. In fact, the top 10% of the videos contribute to over 73% of all accesses. This, however, can be deceptive as videos are quite diverse. For example, in terms of duration, and many of the objects downloaded, as discussed previously, are non-video. Hence, the right figure complements these results by presenting the CDF of the number of chunks requested per video. Each chunk represents a subset of the overall video content. This provides an insight into the number of sub-requests triggered by each video being consumed. By definition, longer videos will generate more chunks. Again, we separate chunks into their respective anonymized categories due to reasons specified previously. We see that the vast majority of video fetches result in under 10 chunks being served. Initially, one might assume that this is simply because the videos are short. However, we see that the low fetch rates are also driven by user skipping and cancellations, leading only to subsets of the video chunks being downloaded. In the previous slides, we observed that there are tenuous but important differences between categories of content, for example, in terms of its duration. A complicating factor is the fact that many videos are tagged by multiple categories, something that occurs very often. Probably, on average, each video has 7 category tags. Hence, we evaluate the coexistence between categories to identify commonly paired tags. To quantify this, we compute the fraction of the pairwise coexistence of the top 6 categories and present the results as a heat map shown in the left figure. To compute this, we calculate the fraction of videos from each category that are also tagged with another category. For completeness, in the right figure, we normalize the fraction based on the total number of videos. The graphs confirm that there are indeed varying levels of category collocation. In some cases, collocation is quite high. For example, near 29% of the videos tagged with category C2 are also tagged with category C3. In contrast, other categories are far less collocated. For example, less than 5% of C1 videos are collocated with C3. There are certain intuitive reasons for this, driven by the semantic nature of the categories, and we hypothesize that this may offer insights into how things like predictive caching could be potentially introduced to CDN platforms. We have so far revealed a workload dominated by image and video content, as well as patterns which suggests that users rarely consume entire videos. Thus, we next proceed to focus on the behavior of individual sessions. To do this, we explore two different types of journeys. Intra-video access journeys, meaning how users move between chunks within a single video, and secondly, inter-video access journeys, meaning how individual sessions move between videos. We start to assess the intra-video journeys by exploring the duration of the time each user session dedicates to an individual video. Note that this is different than in the duration figure previously seen in slide 7, which is based on the video duration rather than the actual video access duration. To compute this, for each video access, we exact the difference between the first and last timestamps seen for chunks of the same video. As seen in the figure, this exhibits remarkably different trends to the ones we saw previously in slide 7. As expected, we find that access durations are far shorter than the underlying content duration that is being consumed. There are also tiny yet important differences between categories. For example, the average access duration for the content within C1 category is about 1080 seconds versus 650 seconds for C3 content. Around 80% of C1 content is consumed for under 1000 seconds, whereas this is closer to 90% for C3 videos. To complement this, the figure in the right shows the CDF of the number of bytes sent per video session per. Each data point represents the number of bytes downloaded for each request. Please, it's important to note that one session may generate multiple requests even for the same source. This shows a rather different trend, with around 90% of fetches resulting in under 10 to the 7th bytes being sent. Overall, both plots reveal that the majority of videos only have a subset of the content's chunks fetched. It is worth noting that even though videos rarely download all of their chunks, we do find that requests for individual chunks are usually completed. Notably, more than 80% of individual chunk requests involve downloading in excess of 90% of bytes, whilst only 4% download under 10% of bytes. Next, the fact that many videos are not downloaded in their entirety is driven by a combination of two factors. One, either viewers cancelling the video streams, or secondly, the users skip and hop across video streams. To get an idea of how many videos are watched sequentially and then cancelled towards the end, we compute the fraction of streams that request the first 90% of chunks but lack the last 10%. We find that under 1% experience this, suggesting that early cancellations and skips are the ones that are most prevalent. The figure shown represents the skip rate of blocks for all categories and the top 5 ones. A skip block is counted when the byte range is not directly adjacent to the previous block's high byte range. We observe that some videos have extremely high skip ratios, more than 0.8, which means that over 80% of the chunks served are not sequential and are the result of a skip. This confirms the conjecture that viewers skip extensively when consuming adult videos and rarely download all chunks continuously. This has dramatic impact on our early results. To quantify this, we subset all videos to leave those containing at least one skip. In fact, this applies to over 70% of the total requests in our CDN logs, confirming that the majority of videos do indeed include skips. This likely differs from long-play video-on-demand platforms and services such as YouTube or Netflix, where users are more likely to consume the streams continuously. Now, having completed our exploration of intra-video journeys, we move to tackle inter-video journeys, which explores how sessions move between videos. We start our analysis by exploring video load points, which tell us the point of origin of each request, meaning where it is loaded from. We conjecture that different viewers might have different patterns in this regard. To extract this information, we identify the HTTP referer in each request. From this, we take the previous page the resources was loaded from. We then map this to the page and type of object that this has triggered the resource request. The figure shown in the left represents the overall distribution of videos watched from a page that the users are visiting within the portal. We can observe that the majority of resources are watched from the video homepage. Each video has its own page. This captures over 55% of unique videos, accumulating over 65% of bytes delivered on the site. That said, we also observe the notable quantity of material embedded within the site homepage and from the search page. Concretely, more than 45% of video visits come from the site homepage. Interestingly, around 35% of videos are referred from the search page, but amass just 5% of the traffic. The remaining referrals are from various subpages within the site, most notably several popular category pages. Looking at this distribution in isolation, however, is insufficient to gain advantage into a sessions journey. This is because, as previously observed, videos are not always viewed in their entirety. To this end, in the right figure, we show the fraction of bytes loaded across the various referers. For clarity, we list only the top pages observed. The median is relatively stable across most pages, however there are key differences. For example, over 45% of views from the homepage of the site result in under 25% of video bytes actually being loaded. This might indicate that content accessed from the front page is rarely done with great thought. Rather, users might informally click on videos on the chance that they might be of interest, since the rest made them popular and/or trending. Similarly, just 5% of video bytes are consumed when redirected from the search page, suggesting that users may load a large number of videos in the hope of finding something nice, before maybe eventually cancelling. In the previous slide, we explored the number of videos loaded from a given page. However, it would be also interesting to explore the transition of views between videos. To compute this, we sort each user session into its temporal order of access, which only covers video accesses. We then compute transition points as they move between one resource request to the next. The current figure shows a Sankey diagram which reveals the transition of accesses between videos. Of note is that the majority of sessions move between resources on the same page type. For example, over 92% of accesses to the homepage of a video are followed by another video access from the homepage. This observation generalizes across most pages. For the top 5 access pages, we find that at least 88% of videos are accessed from the same source, the previous video. We think this may be a powerful observation with implications for performing predictive and prefetching of content. We will now discuss the potential implications of our work, starting with the most crucial one, potential bandwidth savings. CDNs are primarily interested in improving their quality of provision, as well as their overheads. This is typically measured via metrics such as cache hit rate versus deployment costs. Our results confirm that, Even though images constitute the bulk of the requests, the majority of bytes delivered are actually video content. Furthermore, due to the presence of highly popular objects, we posit that there may be potential for edge caching of content. Although CDNs already do employ cache servers around the world, we next test the possibility of deploying a larger number of geo-aware caches specifically optimized for audio video workloads. As we do not have topological information about clients, we cluster users into a cache domain based on the CD tags derived from Maximite. Note that this creates a wider dispersal of cache servers compared to the most CDNs, as it is less accurate, but the information is freely available. We then subdivide users into their cities and filter any cities that have 10 or fewer sessions, leaving us with 385 cities. For simplicity, we assign all users in each city into a single caching domain, assuming that each region has its own dedicated geocache. We first compute how many sessions in each city consume the same video. The left figure presents the results on a per video basis. Unsurprisingly, we find that accessing the same video from a city is commonplace. In the most extreme case, there was one video that was accessed by over 90% of all sessions within a particular city. This leads us to hypothesize that such properties could be exploited for caching. To this end, the right figure shows the percentage of traffic that could be potentially saved, shown in the Y1 axis, that means the left one, should a city-wide scale cache were to be deployed. Note, for simplicity, we also assume that the cache covers all users in the city and has unlimited storage for the 1 hour period of the dataset. We can see that given densely populated location, bandwidth savings exceeding 90% are indeed feasible. The Y2 axis also presents the percentage of videos that have at least 3 user sessions within a city accessing them, thereby resulting in further savings. We see that are extremely high, with nearly all settings exceeding 50%. Having established that geocaching is an effective tool in this domain, we also propose a number of more innovative approaches that could be employed for streamlining delivery. These all fall under the umbrella of predictive loading techniques. For instance, predicting popular chunks in the video and subsequently pushing them could improve quality of experience by reducing the human-perceived latency. This would be particularly useful as often videos are not viewed continuously, making current buffering strategies ineffective, to say the least. Thus, predicting the next skip could therefore avoid wasted buffering. Furthermore, the heavy load created by thumbnails suggests that could be perhaps a way to preload them in bulk for certain videos. We have also established that sessions have clear behavioral traits and patterns when moving between video pages. Again, we conjecture that these patterns could be exploited and, in a way, predicted. In fact, due to the propensity of viewers to select such content, it might be even possible to dynamically select which videos to recommend based on what content is live in the most nearby cache. We posit that this may be able to satisfy user demand whilst also reducing network costs for the CDN. Concluding, this paper explored the characteristics of a large adult video portal and how it behaves, with a focus on understanding in-session journeys. We first inspected the corpus and workload saved by our vantage point. We found that, contrary to expectation, the bulk of the objects served are actually image content, although video does make up the bulk of the bytes delivered. In terms of videos, the majority of requests were for a small subset of the content, and we confirmed past observation related to the skewed distribution of the adult content. This led us to focus on session-level behaviors, where we revealed distinct access patterns and briefly evaluated the potential of caching and prefetching to optimize delivery. I do have to note, this is just a start. There is a possibility to explore, validate these results or our results against different portals. Further, as proposed, we wish to develop optimized delivery systems and caching schemes. Thank you very much for your attention. Any questions?